I'm standing in a Chicago ballroom that bills more per night than I take home in a month, pretending champagne tastes like pride. Across the room, my wife, Jessica, laughs at her boss's joke, the kind of laugh she used to save for me. Richard Cole, 44, vintage Mustang smile, one hand hovering a breath too close to her back. People call this networking. I call it an autopsy. I walk over. No scene, no shouting, just precision. I twist off my wedding ring, the only thing I still own in this room, and drop it into Jessica's flute. The gold hits crystal with a sharp clink that freezes the room mid-breath. Heads turn. Her face drains. Richard swallows hard. Since you prefer to be single at work, I say, consider this paperwork. The orchestra stalls. Elsewhere, a career begins to wobble. I turn, lighter than I've felt in years, and that's when I spot something in the mirrors, and it changes everything. I'm David Miller, numbers guy. My workdays are spreadsheets, not spotlights. I grew up in a house where you fixed what you had, and you didn't brag about it. My dad balanced a checkbook with a stub pencil and said, "Truth hides in the totals." That stuck. Somewhere along the way, I learned how to make money talk. I didn't learn how to speak fluent ballroom. In rooms like this, people trade eye contact like currency. I trade silence. It's safer. I married Jessica 12 years ago because she could light up a dull Tuesday with a single smile. Lately, I'm the dimmer switch. The more I provide, the less I seem to matter. They say men my age should lean in, buy a louder watch, take up golf. I lean back and listen. Numbers never lie. People do. I sip champagne that tastes like canceled plans and smile like I'm fine. I'm not. And after tonight, I won't pretend to be. Jessica Miller, maiden name Foster, PR executive at Coleman & Partners, knows how to turn a room. She reads people like I read ledgers, and for years I believed I was her favorite chapter. Lately, I feel like a footnote. At home, she floats through our kitchen in silk and strategy, always almost late, always on the brink of landing something big. In the mornings, she leaves lipstick on a coffee lid and schedules on a sticky note. In the evenings, she leaves me with silence. If you're a man in your 50s, you know this dance. The polite drift, the calendar conflicts, the kiss that lands like a receipt. When she laughs tonight, head back, hand on Richard's arm, I recognize the sound. It used to be mine. 12 years should mean weathered storms and worn-in comfort. Instead, it feels like a coat she shrugs off at the door. She calls it networking. I call it forgetting. Either way, I'm suddenly hard to remember. Richard Cole, 44, VP at Coleman & Partners, drives a '69 Mustang that rumbles like it eats weaker cars for breakfast. His suit fits like a threat. His smile says, "Trust me," while his eyes say, "Don't." Men like him don't take your wallet. They convince you to hand it over. We've met twice. Once at a holiday party where he sized up my handshake. Once in an elevator where he nodded like a judge passing sentence. Tonight, he holds court at the edge of the dance floor. One hand on a rocks glass. One sentence from being the story everyone repeats Monday. There's always a Richard in a man's life. A boss, a neighbor, a friend who keeps score. You can spot him by the way the room leans toward him. Jessica leans. When he laughs, she launches. When he pauses, she lands. I watch that gravity and feel the pull. It's strong, but I know something stronger. What happens when gravity fails? Tom Harris slides in at my elbow like the bartender read my mind and sent backup. He's the guy at work who remembers your kid's birthday and shows up on moving day with a dolly. 3 kids, a minivan with dents that tell stories, a mortgage he fights for every month. We talk plain. He looks past the chandeliers and sees the bill. "You good?" he asks, eyes following Jessica's orbit. I give the shrug men use when they're not. He nods, passes me the honest truth in a low voice. "You don't have to stand in it just because you paid to be here." That lands. In my 20s, I'd crack a joke. In my 30s, I'd swallow it. In my 40s, I learned to hold a line. Tom's the kind of man who keeps you from stepping over it. He doesn't say, "Leave." He says, "Choose." I raise the glass, not to toast, but to steady my hand. The room spins anyway. Charity gala, Big checks, bigger egos. A jazz trio plays songs you're supposed to recognize. Waiters float like they're on rails. The carpet is thick enough to forgive bad decisions. Men in tuxes practice laugh shapes. Women in gowns exchange weather reports about power. I've been to versions of this for years, always as the +1 to Jessica's shine. There's a trick to surviving nights like this. Find a corner, watch the flow, pretend you chose the shadows. I stand under a chandelier that costs more than my first car and think about the old house I painted by hand one summer. 2 coats, no shortcuts. When the CEO taps a crystal flute to hush the room, I glance at Jessica. She isn't looking for me. She's looking for a camera. A fundraiser should feel like hope. This feels like a verdict. The band swells, the crowd claps, and somewhere under the applause my stomach drops. It's the sound a bridge makes before it breaks. Jessica glides over, perfume first. "Try to smile," she says, low enough to sound intimate, sharp enough to cut. "You're representing me tonight." Not us. Me. If you're married long enough, you learn the weight of small words. I've carried us through layoff rumors and hospital bills. She's carried the room. Both are heavy. I look at her, at the dress chosen to win a crowd, at the ring we picked when we had more faith than furniture. "You want to smile?" I ask. She tilts her chin, a challenge and a dare. I give her the one I wear to funerals, polite, unbreakable, empty. She laughs like I'm clever. Maybe I am. Maybe the smartest thing I'll do all night is stop speaking her language. I raise my glass. She raises higher. Richard watches over her shoulder, amused. "Represent me," she repeats, and walks away before I can answer. That's the thing about leaving first. You miss what happens next. Tom reappears, reads my face, and offers the old man's medicine. Gallows humor. "Practice your funeral look?" he asks. "Might need it," I say, and we both smirk like dads at a backyard barbecue when the grill won't light. It's how men my age cope. We sand the edge off pain with a joke, then pocket the blade for later. The band kicks into something upbeat. My heart doesn't. I tell Tom about the late nights, the phone face down, the new gym membership that never shows sweat. He listens without fixing. That's rare. Then he nods at Jessica and Richard, angled close like magnets. "You seeing this?" he asks. I am. I've seen it for months, like a leak in the ceiling you pretend is just humidity. We stand there, 2 taxpayers in tuxedos, and decide not to lie to ourselves. "If it's broke," Tom says, "it was expensive." He means the marriage. I mean the lesson. Either way, the bill's due. Amanda Ross arrives on champagne legs, voice set to confidential, and volume set to public. She's Jessica's best friend, the one who texts birthday memes at 6 a.m. and knows where the bodies are buried, mostly because she helped dig. "David," she whispers, which means everyone nearby can hear. Jess says she pretends to be single at these things. More fun that way. She laughs like it's a harmless magic trick. Tom stops breathing. I don't. I just switch to a different kind of air. Amanda keeps talking because that's her talent and her flaw. "Marriage is like wearing a coat in July," she says. "Sometimes you just take it off." The line plays well in rooms like this. It doesn't play at kitchen tables. I think of our table, the one with a nick where I dropped a wrench fixing a chair. That scar told the truth. Amanda's smile doesn't. I set my glass down very gently so I don't break anything. Yet. There's a moment, right before a storm hits, when the air goes still and the birds forget their lines. That's what settles in my chest. Across the room, Jessica leans in to hear Richard better, and the world narrows to that tilt of her head. 12 years is a long time to be certain. One sentence is enough to end it. I look at Tom. He gives me a nod men recognize, the green light you don't ask for but need. I smooth my jacket, not to look good, but to feel steady. The band hits a bright note. It sounds like a dare. I walk toward Jessica and Richard, not fast, not slow, just like a man who's done rehearsing the wrong speech. People part, sensing impact. Amanda's hand flies to her mouth, too late. I reach them. No scene, no heat, just the click of a decision already made. Somewhere behind the glass and gold, I hear my father. Check the totals. I will. Starting now. I look down at the band on my finger and realize it isn't a promise anymore. It's a prop. Every married guy I know has a story about the day something ordinary turned heavy, the garage door that wouldn't close, the chair that finally cracked. This is mine. The gold feels colder than the glass in my hand. I rub the groove it's carved into my skin and think about how grooves become ruts when you stop steering. Around me, the gala hums, forks against china, polite applause, a donor's joke that lands like dust. Across the room, Jessica tilts her head as Richard speaks, and I know that angle. It's the one she used to give me when I said something worth keeping. I wait for the moment to pass. It doesn't. A man can carry a lot quietly. He can also put it down. I set the champagne aside and straighten my cuffs. If the ring is a prop, the scene is about to change. Jessica catches me watching and doesn't flinch. Instead, she slides her eyes to Richard, then back to me, like passing a file across a desk. The message is clean. You don't belong in this sentence. Most men my age recognize that look from somewhere. The boss who forgets your name, the kid who stops asking for advice, the doctor who says you'll manage, and moves on. It's the look that edits you out. Richard's hand hovers behind her lower back, respectful by an inch, disrespectful by intention. They don't touch, not really. They don't have to. The room is their alibi. I think of my father again, how he'd circle totals in red and say, numbers don't argue, they add up. So I add this up. Late nights, private laughs, the new perfume that never makes it home. My jaw settles. A decision clicks into place like a well-cut key. The band plays a bright note. I start walking. Some bridges you cross only once. Ballrooms are built on illusions, good lighting, better angles. The service corridor off the main hall is the truth's back door. I follow their shadows past a row of mirrors that turn one couple into a crowd. It's funny how reflection works at our age. You catch a glimpse and see your dad's posture, your son's haircut, your own fatigue. In the glass, Jessica leans in. Richard dips his head. A waiter wheels past with desserts that look like jewelry. I move when he moves, keeping to the edges like the kid who learned early that the edges are safer. The mirrors multiply the problem. 2 people, 10 angles, 100 ways to pretend. I think about the Sunday I spent fixing a leaky pipe alone because asking for help felt like failure. This, I decide, is not a plumbing problem. This is a flood. I pull my phone from my pocket, thumb on camera, and wait for proof to stop pretending. They're not kissing. They might as well be. In the mirror, the space between them is a rumor. His hand hovers, then ghosts away. Her smile is the quiet kind, the kind you save. The corridor noise fades to the electric buzz you hear before a storm. If you've ever stood in a hospital hallway waiting for a doctor to say a word you can live with, you know that sound. I do. Jessica tucks hair behind her ear the way she does when she's decided. Richard nods like a man who's been agreed with for years. 2 professionals practicing discretion. 2 reflections practicing denial. The camera catches light and shadow, the language cheaters speak when they've run out of nouns. I take the shot anyway. The screen blinks. Memory made. I don't breathe for a count of 5, then force air back in like a stalled engine. This might not be the worst thing I see tonight. It won't be the last. Older men joke that our phones remember what our hearts try to forget. Mine remembers the shutter sound. It's small, neat, final, like a stamp at the DMV that means you'll wait longer. Photo taken. I lower the screen and look at the real versions, not the glass copies. They've stepped apart. They're professionals again. A busboy coughs. A door thumps. Life resumes its neat handwriting. In my pocket, the picture burns like a credit card bill you don't want to open. Proof changes posture. I stand straighter, not to look taller, but to feel heavier in my own bones. If you've ever confronted a number on a scale and said, okay, you know the feeling. Acceptance isn't surrender, it's prep. I slip the phone away and walk back toward the music. 1 foot in front of the other, the oldest math. Somewhere behind me, a mirror holds the past like a grudge. I'm done negotiating with glass. Time to face the room. Whiskey is the grown man's reset button. Not the burn, the pause before it. The bartender doesn't ask questions. He never does. I nod. He pours. My father taught me that silence has weight if you hold it long enough. I set the glass on the lip of the bar and let the ice count for me. 1, 2, 3. Across the floor, Jessica performs the kind of laugh that sells clients and erases husbands. Richard's shoulders relax. He's winning a game he doesn't think I can see. Men my age talk about being the rock. Rocks crack, but only after holding their ground a while. I take a sip and feel the old house settle inside my chest, the one I painted and repaired, the one I paid for, the one that doesn't laugh at me. Whiskey separates noise from signal. The signal says move. I leave the glass half full, because tonight I'm done finishing other people's drinks. I turn toward the spark I'm about to light. Back on the floor, Jessica spots me and flips the switch labeled effortless. She glides over, touches my sleeve, flashes a smile built to photograph well. If marriage is theater, this is the part where we hit our marks and deliver the lines. How's the client? So proud of you. We'll talk later. I used to love this scene, the two of us against the room, her shine, my ballast. Now I can see the wires. She talks about a campaign, a launch, a leader's vision. I hear none of it. I'm counting the tells, the way she keeps her phone face down, the pause before saying my name, the quick glance past my shoulder to see who's watching. Men in their 50s learn to read weather. Knees predict rain, budgets predict fights. Tonight, her eyes predict a storm she thinks she can outrun. You good? She asks. Perfect, I say, which is the word people use when they've stopped telling the truth. She doesn't notice. That's its own answer. Amanda drifts in like a weather front, warm air, unstable pressure. She grips my forearm the way tipsy friends do when they need your balance more than you need theirs. Marriage, she stage whispers, is like wearing a coat in July. Sometimes you take it off. She grins, waiting for me to applaud the metaphor. I picture my old work coat, paint flecks, busted zipper, sleeves polished by years of use. You don't throw that coat away. You hang it by the door and pray winter forgives you. Amanda keeps going because the drunk never knows where the edge is. Jess says being single at events is more fun. Tom overhears and goes still. I don't correct her. I don't threaten. I inventory. Words are evidence when spoken by the wrong mouth at the right time. The band hits a sax run that sounds like somebody slipping. Amanda clinks my glass, blessing her own honesty. I set my drink down. I've got both hands free now. Men tell themselves they'll know when it's time. Spoiler, you won't. The moment chooses you. Mine taps me on the shoulder and says, now. I feel calm. The same calm I felt signing the mortgage and signing the discharge papers when Mom came home from surgery. Big decisions don't shout. They nod. I start walking toward Jessica and Richard, not fast enough to make a scene, not slow enough to look unsure. People sense momentum. They part like automatic doors. Tom's eyes meet mine. He doesn't smile. He doesn't need to. Amanda's expression flips from smug to sober in 3 heartbeats. The band downs a measure. The room inhales. I reach them and stand in the space where I've been edited out all night. Hey Jess, I say, and she turns like I've interrupted a commercial. Richard steps back a fraction. I take the ring between finger and thumb. It's lighter than I expected. Or maybe I'm heavier. Either way, gravity's about to do its job. There's a sound older men recognize. A tool dropped on concrete, a bat on sweet spot, the click of a lock turning from the inside. My ring hitting Jessica's flute makes that sound. Sharp, true, final. The room freezes mid-expression, smiles stranded, forks hovering, a donor's anecdote dying on the vine. Jessica stares at the glass like it bit her. Richard's jaw flickers, then sets. I don't raise my voice. I raise the truth. Since you prefer to be single at work, I say, consider this paperwork. The orchestra stumbles, finds its place, and pretends nothing happened. No one believes them. Somewhere, a photographer lowers his camera. Somewhere else, a career wobbles on its heels. I step back, lighter by a circle of gold and a decade of denial. Jessica reaches for my arm. I let her miss. My father's lesson lands one more time. Totals, not excuses. In the corner of the mirror, something moves. It's small, it's decisive, and it's going to change everything. Tom finds me near the doors, where the air's cooler and the smiles don't reach. "You done?" he asks. Not with the night, just with lying to myself. We step into the hallway that smells like bleach and old secrets. If you've ever walked out of a job you outgrew, you know this stride. Steady, forward, no glancing back to see if anyone's clapping. Tom offers to drive. I shake my head. I need my own wheel right now. He understands. Good friends don't fix. They witness. Before he goes, he squeezes my shoulder, father to father, mortgage to mortgage. "Call me if it gets weird." "It's already weird," I say, and we almost laugh. Behind us, the ballroom swallows its gasp and pretends. In front of me, a service corridor runs like a spine through the hotel. I take one step, then another, following the dull drum of music through the wall. I've spent years being reasonable. Tonight has other plans. The ring clink still echoes. It points the way. The service corridor is where the real work happens. Carts, trays, taped lists on doors. It's also where the truth forgets to suck in its stomach. I move past stacked linens and a bus tub of lipstick-stained glassware. Men my age know this terrain, the backstage of life where you fix, lift, carry. In the distance, I hear voices, not laughter, murmur. I slow down the way you do when the baby's finally asleep and the floor might creak. A mirror hangs at the junction, meant for staff to straighten ties. It gives me angles I didn't ask for. Jessica's shoulder. Richard close, too close for colleagues. If you ever watched a fence line long enough to spot where the dog squeezes through, you know this patience. I breathe through my nose, count to 5, and ease up to the corner. Their words arrive in pieces, names, dates, a client. I don't step out. Not yet. I want the picture and the sound. Proof needs both. There's a brand of kiss people practice when they think no one's watching. Careful hunger, quick retreat. That's the one I catch. It's not a movie kiss. It's a habit. Jessica's hand goes to Richard's lapel like she's done it before. He glances over her shoulder for witnesses. Old men call that tells. Younger men call it content. Either way, it's disqualifying. My phone is in my hand before the part of me that still hopes can speak. The camera doesn't care how I feel. It cares about light. I hold steady like I'm leveling a shelf. The shutter taps, small as a pin. Proof lands. If you've ever heard the slow pop of a tire going soft and known the trip just got longer, that's the sound. They separate. Jessica smooths her dress, the universal sign for reset. Richard smiles a private smile. I step back into shadow and let my pulse settle. The ring in the flute was a line. This is a ledger entry. After Henderson signs, we're clear, Richard says. Clear. That word does heavy lifting in bad plans. Jessica nods, voice low, tone steady, the way she orders half the room without raising it. We just need the week. The week. I file it beside the late nights, the sudden gym membership, the new perfume that never makes it home. Henderson is a big account, the kind that keeps firms alive and marriages on ice. I take one more photo, nothing scandalous, just proximity and timing, then slide the phone away. If you're over 40, you know how to collect receipts, literal and otherwise. They save you when memories argue. A waiter wheels in a cart. They step apart, professionals again. I backtrack the way I came, past the mirrors that double everyone but me. In the distance, the band plays a standard about love that lasts. The hallway plays something truer. Doors closing, voices lowered, the clatter of plates you pretend not to hear. I hear all of it. The night air hits like honesty. I take the long way to the garage because men my age know that distance calms the hands. The Mustang is still out front, Richard's shrine on wheels. It gleams under the awning like a trophy that never learned humility. I don't touch it, not yet. I ride the elevator down with a couple still arguing in whispers about valet tickets. You learn a lot from whispers. In my car, I sit for a minute, engine off, head back, palms flat on the wheel. When my dad taught me to drive, he said, "Steady hands beat fast feet." I turn the key. The engine answers like a promise I can still keep. On the way home, streetlights pass in equal measure, countable, reliable. I turn the radio to talk, then to silence. At a red light, I look at my left hand. The groove where the ring sat looks like a healed cut. Healed doesn't mean untouched. The light goes green. I go home. My office smells like coffee and old paper. I flip on the lamp my son dented with a Nerf football and sit at the desk I built from a kit with too few screws. It's held up anyway. So have I. I place the phone in the center like a witness and open the laptop. Bank tabs, credit cards, statements. My dad's voice again. Truth hides in the totals. I start with the joint account. The dates line up like dominoes. Hotel names we never visited together. Restaurants across town from where she said she'd be. A boutique receipt for lingerie that never saw our dresser. I list them, not to punish myself, but to chart the storm. If you've ever spread out warranty papers on a kitchen table to argue with a contractor, you know the ritual. You stack what proves, discard what distracts. The clock ticks louder after midnight. I don't yawn, I don't drift. Numbers are oxygen to a certain kind of man. I breathe deep. Patterns don't shout, they repeat. Thursday nights swell with charges. December spikes after the holiday party. ATM withdrawals bloom near a hotel that offers corporate rates. A gym membership hits the card, followed by a sports bar receipt 2 blocks from Equinox, timed perfectly with late meetings. When you're young, coincidence is romantic. When you're older, it's a bill. I graph the months like a patient's chart and watch the line rise where trust falls. 8 months, maybe more. I cross-check texts on our phone bill, numbers, durations, the midnight rhythm. I'm not snooping. I'm auditing a life I paid for. If you've ever rebuilt a carburetor or a budget, you know the satisfaction when pieces finally explain themselves. It hurts. It also helps. By 2 a.m., the fog is gone. The story stands on its own legs, even if mine feels shaky. I print the highlights and slip them into a manila folder. Label: Miller, V, Denial. Exhibit A through Z. The house is quiet in that heavy way after a long day. I pour water, not whiskey, and stare at the hallway where Jessica will walk in 6 hours pretending sleep cured truth. My phone buzzes. Tom. You good? He asks, because some men set alarms for their friends. I tell him enough. Not the kiss, that can wait, but the numbers. 8 months, I say. He breathes out through his teeth. The dad noise we make when the car needs a new transmission. What now? Good question. I've spent years avoiding scenes. Tonight taught me that scenes arrive anyway. I'm not breaking plates, I say. I'm building a case. He approves. 1 syllable, solid as a handshake. Call if you need a witness. We hang up. If you're over 50, you know that help isn't a speech, it's presence. I stack the printouts, square the edges, and feel something like calm, not peace, position. I'm not a victim in this story. I'm the narrator, and I'm wide awake. Revenge is easy. Precision is rare. I choose precision. I don't need to break anything to send a message. Men like Richard worship 2 gods, perception and possessions. The Mustang is both. I research in the glow of the desk lamp, tire valve stems, battery terminals, the way shrimp turns an air system into a confession. No permanent damage, maximum consequence. It's not the car. It's the story the car will tell on the morning news. Before dawn, I pack a small toolkit and a guilty conscience I've measured against 8 months of lies. The scale tips. I drive downtown while the city yawns awake. Garbage trucks, joggers, one diner already full of old men who know every cop's first name. I park 2 levels below Richard's usual spot and wait. Patience is a tool too. When his taillights disappear into the elevator, I step out. Everything I need fits in one pocket. Everything I've felt takes up the rest of me. Time to calibrate. Back home, the sun lifts the edges off the night. I set the kit on the workbench and watch light crawl across the garage floor like a slow apology. The folder sits on the passenger seat, thick with what can't be argued. I open it and run a finger down the dates. 8 months minimum, maybe a year. All that time I told myself marriage was a phase you outlast. Some phases outlast you. Saying it out loud would break something I'm not ready to sweep up, so I say it to the page. I was blind because it was easier than seeing. There. The worst part named. Men my age carry a lot and complain little. We pay, we patch, we mow. but we also decide. The door to the kitchen opens. Morning enters with the smell of coffee and a silence I recognize. Soon there will be talking. Later there will be lawyers. For now, there's a man, a folder, and a line he won't cross back over. Morning arrives in an apron. Jessica slides a plate in front of me. Pancakes, butter melting like a sales pitch. We haven't done this since our second anniversary, when we were broke and believed syrup fixed everything. "Thought you'd like a treat," she says, voice set to gentle. Men my age know this move. Sweeten the air before the heavy talk. I cut a triangle, chew, and let the pause carry weight. "Late night?" I ask. She shrugs, eyes on the skillet, not on me. Client prep. The kitchen smells like vanilla and avoidance. I picture the folder on my desk, the timeline neat as fence boards. She pours coffee, sets the mug just so, her choreography when she wants control. "You okay?" she asks. "I will be." The fork ticks the plate, a metronome for the truth gathering itself. Pancakes used to mean comfort. Today they mean caution tape. I set the knife down carefully because the next sentence could cut. "Tell me about Richard." She blinks once. Small, practiced. "Richard's my boss," she says, as if I'd misplaced that fact. I take another bite to buy a beat. "He's also the guy you laugh with when you think I'm not looking." Her shoulders lift, fall. "It's networking, David." I learned a long time ago that statements invite stories, while questions corner lies. "Were you with him after the gala?" She says no quickly, then adds, "We talked by the exit." The add-on is the wobble. I slide my coffee closer, the way you do when you're about to make a list. "New gym, hotel charges, the week you need until Henderson signs. Help me understand the coincidence." She steadies her jaw, a move I've seen before a tough meeting. "You're being paranoid." I nod, like a man who's checked a failing smoke detector twice. "Maybe. Or maybe I'm finally awake." She reaches across the island, wedding band catching light. I don't take her hand. The space between us tells the truth. "Say his name," I tell her. "Richard." It lands hard in the quiet kitchen. Older men know the power of naming. When you call a problem what it is, it stops shape-shifting. She tries to laugh it off, but the sound has a crack in it. "This is ridiculous." "Is it?" I ask. "Because when Amanda said you pretend to be single at events, you didn't correct her." There it is. The flinch. Quick. Barely there. Enough. I remember teaching my son to catch, how the hands betray what the eyes deny. Jessica's hands betray her now, smoothing a robe tie that isn't crooked. "You're reading into things," she says. "I'm reading what's written." I push the untouched pancake away and stand, not to tower, but to end the dance. "I need to clear my head," I say. She nods too fast. "Take your time." I grab my keys, and the back door closes with a soft finality. In the driveway, the air feels honest again. I drive without the radio, the way you do when thoughts need the middle lane. The city is morning clean. Delivery trucks, dog walkers, a jogger with a knee brace and determination. At a red light, I list what I know and what I can prove. Men my age respect proof. It's how we buy cars and choose doctors. The folder holds the numbers. My phone holds the pictures. What I need now is pattern and leverage. Richard treasures two things, image and his Mustang. Jessica treasures momentum and plausible deniability. My move needs to speak both languages without saying a legal word. Tom's voice from last night rides shotgun. "You don't have to stand in it just because you paid to be there." I won't. I swing toward downtown. Coleman and Partners sits on a block of mirrored glass where reflections pass for stature. I park across from the cafe on the corner. If they're meeting, they'll choose visibility that pretends to be innocent. I settle in and wait. Some coffee shops are confessionals. This one is all bright tiles and laptop hunch. I take a window table and angle my phone like any other guy killing a morning. 10 minutes later, Jessica arrives with the wind still on her hair. Richard follows 2 beats after, like timing is proof they're separate. They pick the corner table with the best sightline to the room, which is how guilty people choose privacy. If you've ever watched a contractor measure twice and cut once, you know this tempo. Efficient, practiced. She slides a folder across. He signs something small, then something longer. They lean in. His hand doesn't touch hers. It doesn't need to. I photograph the sequence. Arrival, folders, pens, posture. None of it scandalous. All of it connected. They don't laugh here. They nod. That's worse. Nods write checks. Laughter can't cash. When they separate, it's on account. She leaves first. He waits. Their choreography says partnership. My camera says proof. I step out after Richard, keeping the same polite distance men keep at urinals and in grief. He heads for the parking garage, tapping his key fob like a metronome. The Mustang doesn't roar so much as purr. Animals do that before they bite. He circles the car once, checks a reflection, then pulls out like the world owes him the lane. I memorize his route the way dads memorize soccer schedules and pill times. On the way back to my car, I pass the cafe again. The busboy clears their table. One napkin is folded, the other is torn. Jessica's, if I had to bet. I pocket that image. Torn things tell on us. Back home, I lay out the cafe photos beside the hotel charges. Dates locked together with the satisfaction of a good wrench turning. I don't smile. I exhale. Precision doesn't feel like victory. It feels like gravity. The next move will, though, and it won't leave a scratch the law can find. Men like Richard collect status the way teenagers collect stickers. The Mustang is his loudest one. He parks it carefully, photographs it casually, tells stories about parts only other worshippers appreciate. I don't want his car, I want his composure. There's a difference. In my garage, I open the small toolkit I keep for weekends. Valve cores, a portable inflator, nitrile gloves. Harmless things in careful hands. I watch 2 videos, then a third, because over 40 you learn the second watch is where you actually learn. Shrimp in vents. Battery terminal loosened just shy of obvious. Valve stems backed off to guarantee a Monday morning that starts wrong and stays wrong. It isn't revenge. It's a memo on letterhead. Richard respects. Inconvenience signed by embarrassment. I load the kit into a canvas tote and check my phone camera, wipe the lens like a ritual. Some men pray before they act. I plan. Then I wait for dark, because darkness is a better witness. Parking garages after hours smell like rubber and apologies. I slip in when the security guard steps out to argue with a delivery driver. 2 floors up, Richard's shrine glows under a sodium lamp. My heart is steady, the way it was the day I taught my son to ride a bike and refused to let fear steer. I kneel by each tire, turning valve cores a whisper, not a twist. Patience over drama. Under the hood, the battery lead loosens with the gentle give of a long-held lie. Last, the shrimp. 3 small baggies, tucked deep into vents where air becomes narrative. It takes less than 10 minutes to rewrite his morning. I slide a note beneath the wiper. This is what betrayal smells like. Enjoy. Not a threat. A thesis. On the way out, I pass my reflection in a dark window and almost don't recognize the man looking back. Calm, decided, done asking permission. I don't wave. I disappear. Tom calls at 7:21 a.m. Turn on Channel 7. The anchor's smile is too bright for the footage. A tow truck, a furious executive, a classic Mustang that now belongs to the ocean. The reporter says prank. Richard says words we can't air. A mechanic explains smell molecules like a professor of humiliation. The camera catches employees holding noses, phones up, Monday's made. I sip coffee that suddenly tastes like satisfaction and put the cup down before I grin. Men my age know better than to gloat. Karma has a calendar. I text Tom. Haven't seen it. He replies with a row of shrimp emojis I didn't know existed. My phone pings again. Jessica. We need to talk. Of course we do. The city hums, indifferent and perfect. Somewhere, a man who never worries about consequences is smelling one he can't ignore. I close the blinds halfway and let the room stay calm. The point landed. The message is still in the air. By 9, Jessica's at the kitchen island, hair perfect, patience not. Did you do it? She asks, skipping the preface. Older couples know when to throw out the appetizers and get to the meat. I stir my coffee. Do what? She slides her phone across the counter, a freeze frame of Richard shouting next to his wounded car. This. I watch her, not the screen. She's scared, not for the man, but for the fallout. Richard will figure out who... Richard should figure out his boundaries, I say. She exhales, rage framed as concern. You're being reckless. I'm being specific. We hold the silence long enough to hear the fridge hum and the neighbor's mower start. We can fix this, she offers, reflex running the play she knows. Manage optics, survive the week, sign Henderson, reset. There's no we here, I tell her. There's evidence and outcomes. Her eyes flash, then harden. You've changed. I nod. Finally. Somewhere a siren wails. Not for me. Not today. Jessica doesn't knock. She lands. Did you touch his car? No hello, no coffee, just the headline. Men in my age bracket know that tone. It's the one doctors use when they already circled something on the chart. I stir my mug and keep my face steady. What car? She slides her phone across the island. Richard, red-faced, next to a tow truck in a pile of bad decisions. This. I glance, then look at her, because eyes tell more than screens. Rough morning for him, I say. I mentioned he might have car trouble, she shoots back. Before it happened. I shrug the way dads shrug when teenagers swear the dent was already there. Lucky guess. The vein in her temple ticks once. This will blow back on both of us. I shake my head. Only on the people who earned it. She studies me like a stranger, like the nice guy forgot his lines. You've changed. I take a slow sip. That was overdue. Older men will tell you, sometimes pretending not to know is how you learn the rest. I let silence work. Jessica paces, rehearsing angles, optics, timing, Henderson's nerves. I let her talk until she runs out of euphemisms. If Richard goes down, I go down, she says. We are a team. We. That word used to include me. I didn't push anyone, I say. Gravity did. She exhales hard, then softens like a PR pro switching segments. Let's reset. You went too far. Apologize, and we can contain this. Contain. Like smoke. Or truth. I rinse my cup, slow and careful, the way I rinsed baby bottles at 2 a.m., when tired still had a purpose. I'm not apologizing for seeing clearly, I say. She reaches for my wrist. I step back a half inch. No drama, just a new rule. Her eyes sharpen. If you start a war, David, you won't like how it ends. I dry the mug. Start? I'm late to it. Men my age keep one friend who knows the whole file. Tom meets me at a diner that's been pouring the same coffee since the Bears last mattered. Vinyl booth, cracked sugar caddy, eggs that arrive before you finish ordering. I slide the manila folder across. Hotel charges, texts, the cafe photos. He doesn't skim, he reads. That's respect. He taps the receipts like a mechanic tapping a belt. You've got enough, he says. More than enough. I nod. The pancakes from yesterday thicken in my memory. Divorce, he says, the word flat and honest. Get out clean. I take a breath. I don't want clean. I want fair. He tilts his head. Dad to dad, mortgage to mortgage. Fair costs time, money, and sleep. I've already spent those, I say. He wipes his mouth, drops a 20, and meets my eyes. Then hire the meanest lawyer you can afford and let the paper do the yelling. Outside, a truck backfires. We both flinch, then smile. Men survive with small jokes. Divorce papers alone feel like pulling the battery. The engine stops, but the damage stays. I drive home with the radio off and make a list on the dash with my finger. Assets, accounts, the house I bled into, the retirement we planned while the roof leaked. Take the hit and move on, the reasonable part of me offers. The other part remembers the ring clink, the mirror kiss, the laughter saved for someone else. Reasonable men go broke paying for everyone's comfort. I'm done underwriting. I want terms that respect the math. Joint assets used to fund an affair equal offsets. Reputation turned into a toy equals consequences. I park and sit with the engine ticking down like an old clock. My father said fairness isn't a feeling, it's a ledger. So I choose ledger. I open my phone and search the firm Tom recommended. Foster & King, LLP. Reviews say they're polite to clients and cruel to problems. Perfect. I book the consult. Then I sleep hard for 1 hour. Foster & King smells like leather, ink, and outcomes. Margaret Brennan, steel gray hair, steelier eyes, shakes my hand like a contract. I set the folder down. She leafs through without commentary, the way a surgeon reads scans before saying, "We can work with this." "You've documented well," she says. "Adultery doesn't decide everything in Illinois, but financial misuse can tip outcomes." I nod. "I want out with my assets intact and my dignity visible." "Define intact," she says. 60-40 split in my favor. No spousal support. I keep the house." She doesn't laugh. She calculates. "Aggressive, but your paper trail helps. Service method?" At her office, noon, public. She arches one brow. Ethics check, optics check. "Your call," she says. Then, "One warning. Don't harass. Don't threaten. Let the process carry the weight." "Understood." She slides a pen across. "We'll draft today." As I sign, I realize the calm I feel isn't victory. It's alignment. Numbers, decisions, spine. On my way out, the receptionist says, "Good luck." I say, "I prefer planning." By afternoon, the papers are crisp and pointed. Margaret walks me through the line items like a coach reviewing a 2-minute drill. "We request 60% due to dissipation of marital assets, hotel stays, gifts, entertainment," she says. "We'll attach exhibits." I picture the lingerie receipt like a neon sign in a courtroom. "We also note professional entanglement," she adds. "Not to shame, to clarify leverage." Leverage is a grown man's word for fairness with edges. "Serve at noon tomorrow," I say. "Make it official where she plays official." Margaret nods, neither approving nor judging. "Remember," she says, "don't speak to her about terms directly once she's served. Everything funnels through counsel." Boundaries. We set them for toddlers and forget them for ourselves. Not this time. I leave with a copy under my arm, a weight that somehow lightens my steps. In the elevator, a young associate stares at my folder like it's radioactive. It is. It burns illusions and cauterizes liars. Ground floor dings. Time to use it. At 12:04 p.m., a process server in a suit that's seen too many Wednesdays asks the receptionist at Coleman & Partners for Jessica Miller. The lobby is all glass and echo. Clients sign in with the confidence of people who believe problems dissolve in sunlight. I watch from across the street with a cup of coffee I don't drink. Through the window, I see Jessica step forward, poised, polished, her smile already forming. The envelope lands in her hand. The smile doesn't. Her shoulders square, then dip, a choreography I know too well. Recover, rename, redirect. Behind her, Richard appears, late to his own consequence. He spots the envelope, scans the room, and schools his face. Optics over oxygen. The server walks out like a man who just clocked out on time. My phone buzzes 2 minutes later. "Jessica, you humiliated me." I type, "I matched your venue." She doesn't reply. A bus hisses at the curb. Somewhere, a mirror loses another friend. The front door opens like weather turning. Jessica storms in with the papers clutched, hair immaculate, mascara brave. 60%? The house? Are you kidding? Men who've argued about budgets know this rhythm. Volume first, math later. I keep mine low. Hotel rooms, dinners, gifts, paid with joint money. That's not an affair. That's a withdrawal. She throws the packet on the table. Pages fan like a flock of white flags that forgot their job. "You want to ruin me," she says. "No," I say. "I want the costs to land where they belong." She starts to cry, the kind that used to move me. It doesn't tonight. "We can settle quietly," she offers, bargaining because bargaining built her career. "Then read the terms," I say. They are quiet. She looks at me like the old me might still open the door. "He doesn't live here." "Richard will fight," she says. "I'm counting on it," I answer. Outside, a delivery truck grinds gears. Inside, we stop pretending. I don't leave messages in anger. I leave them in daylight. I call Coleman & Partners HR and choose the option labeled Ethics. The woman who answers sounds like every careful administrator I've ever met. polite, trained, ready to write things down. I'm calling as a concerned party, I say, about a supervisor-subordinate relationship that appears to breach company policy. I don't name feelings. I name dates, titles, guidelines from their own handbook. I offer to email documentation, nothing salacious, just the spine. She thanks me, not warmly, but professionally, which is better. We'll review, she says. Review is corporate for investigate without panic. One more thing, I add. Client Henderson's timeline seems linked to this situation. Silence, then a click of a keyboard turning into a memory. Noted, she says. We hang up. I forward the sanitized file. Men my age know when to let systems do what they're built to do. Later my phone pings. A friend of a friend text. HR called Richard in. Afternoon, closed door, good. Let policies speak. By Friday, the rumor mill sounds like a wood chipper. A client pulls out, then two more. Tom catches me by the break room coffee and raises his eyebrows. Your wife's firm is hemorrhaging. I stir powdered creamer into something that resembles closure. That's unfortunate, I say, and mean it in the grown-up way. Choices have prices. On my screen, a trade blog hints at conduct inconsistent with corporate values. Nobody names names, but the comments section reads like a police sketch. Jessica texts. They're investigating. Please stop. I type. I started nothing. I documented. She doesn't reply. At home, the house is quiet as a chapel after a storm. I walk room to room, touching door frames I painted, floors I refinished, the groove where a toy car once chewed the baseboard. This place holds my work. So does the file on my desk. Men my age don't want victories. We want balance. Tonight, for the first time in months, the numbers in the mirror agree. Balance lasted one night. The next morning, while sorting backups for Margaret, I opened a cloud archive. Jessica forgot still synced to our home Wi-Fi. Inside, a shared note labeled Project D, D for David. Screenshots, group texts with Richard and Amanda. Not jokes, odds. He notices by June. He throws a fit or goes quiet. They were betting on my reactions like I was a halftime show. Older men know the feeling when your name shows up on a bill you didn't run up. My stomach did the old elevator drop, then leveled. One message landed harder than the rest. When he snaps, we document. Unstable, jealous, easy win. There it was, the plan to turn me into the story they needed. I scrolled in slow motion, like reading a police report that uses your address. Shame tried to talk. I let math answer. Dates, times, the steady beat of contempt. The folder inside the folder became Exhibit Infinity. My job changed. So did my voice. They'd built a script. Distance me at work events. Bait me with misunderstandings. Gather concerned witness statements for later. Amanda even drafted talking points. Soft words with sharp edges. We're worried about David's stress. Richard's thread added logistics. Parking garage cameras. Who sits where at the gala. Which coworkers could be steered. They called it risk management. It read like theater seating. One chat sparkled with confetti over a poll. Will he cry or rage? If you've ever overheard teenagers rating a parent's reaction, you know that mix of hurt and clarity. I exported everything, printed timestamps, circled phrases my father would have circled in red. Provoke, capture, unstable. This wasn't just an affair, it was a campaign. Men my age don't scare easy, we prepare. I laid the pages across the dining table we once used for birthdays. Paper doesn't flinch when you tell it the truth. My hands stopped shaking. The script they wrote for me just got a rewrite, by me. I didn't need rage, I needed records. So I did what grown men do when the roof starts leaking. You document before you call anyone. I upgraded my home security. Cameras at entrances, motion alerts, a clean log that timestamps everything. I set up a private live stream link, off by default, ready if I had to protect myself in real time. I reviewed our state's recording rules with Margaret's paralegal, asked one question 3 ways, and stayed inside the lines. At the office, I started a contemporaneous journal, dates, calls, chance encounters, written the minute they happened. No adjectives, just nouns and times. When I met Tom for coffee, I told him he was my witness of record. Older guys get it. You don't win arguments, you win audits. Each small safeguard felt like a stud in a wall. I wasn't hunting drama. I was building a house that could take wind. By dusk, the fear had somewhere to sit that wasn't my chest. The next move? Let them make it. Livestream sounds flashy. For me, it was simple. I was done arguing with closed doors. If they tried to stage me as unhinged, the cure was sunlight, the kind that shows who walked where and said what, in the moment, no edits. Not public shaming, public truth, triggered only if they crossed my threshold or my line. Men who've coached Little League know this rule. If you want a fair game, keep the scoreboard visible. I tested the link with Tom, audio clean, timestamps clear, stored safely. No names, no addresses, no grandstanding. Just a way to protect myself from a story they'd already drafted. I thought about my dad standing on our porch after a storm, checking for missing shingles, nodding once. We're fine. You don't brag about a roof that holds, you just sleep under it. I set the tablet on the coffee table, the phone on Do Not Disturb except for one list. If they knocked, the light would answer, not my temper. I didn't bait them with texts or stunts. I did something harder for men like me. Nothing. I went to work. I mowed. I answered Margaret's emails with yes, no. The quiet made its own noise. First came a blocked call, breathy voice, back off. Then a message to my lawyer accusing me of harassment I wasn't committing. Amanda showed up at my door at dusk with the same old charm and a fresh edge. Stop before you ruin her. I let the chain stay on and the camera record. The forecast called for storms. Chicago obliged. Black skies. Thunder like bowling balls in the attic. Pressure drops make people act. Around 9, the backyard motion alert chimed. 1, then 2, then 3 shapes at the gate. My tablet woke. The link armed. I didn't pick up a bat. I picked up proof. Older men know that a door latch has a particular sound when someone believes you're not home. Click. The house inhaled. So did I. Thunder shakes the siding like a big guy knocking twice. The backyard camera pings, then the mudroom sensor. 3 dots moving as one. Older men know that sound. A latch easing back when someone believes you're asleep. Click. I exhale through my nose, steady like I'm lining up a long screw. No heroics. Just the plan. I tap the tablet. Cameras on. Live stream armed. Private link pushed to a short list. Tom, Margaret. 2 neighbors who never miss trash day. The screen blossoms into angles. Kitchen, hall, stairs. Jessica first, whispering my name like she owns the lease. Richard behind her, jaw set. Amanda carrying a bag that doesn't look like cookies. They sweep the office with flashlights and entitlement. Files, Richard says. Laptop, Amanda adds. Jessica opens drawers I built. I sit on the downstairs step where the mic loves me and say evenly, "Looking for something?" They freeze. "You're not supposed to be here," Jessica hisses. "You are," I answer, on camera. The chat counter jumps. So does my pulse, forward not back. I walk up slow, palms open, voice calm, the dad voice you use when a kid grips a broken glass. Before anyone lies, I say hello. I tilt my phone. Comments flood the screen. Tom's, "I'm here," my neighbor's, "recording." Richard steps toward me. I gesture to the lens. He stops. "This is harassment," Amanda announces, defaulting to PR tone. I point at the door camera feed overlay, 3 figures entering my locked home. "This is evidence." Jessica recovers first. "We came for what you stole." "You mean these?" I tap the tablet. The TV downstairs snaps on. Their own words fill the house. Clean audio from a hotel bar and a car parked outside last night. Provoke him, capture it, unstable, jealous. The kind of phrases juries remember. Their faces shed color like bad paint in rain. "You recorded us," Richard says. "In public," I answer, "where you staged me." The viewer count ticks past 1,000. Somewhere on our block, porch lights wake. Thunder answers like a gavel. Power shifts without fireworks. It shifts in posture. Richard backs up a half step. Amanda lowers the bag. Jessica glances at the hallway like exits grow on drywall. I keep it simple. Older man simple. Return the laptop. Put down whatever's in the bag. Hands visible. They obey. 1 beat late. On screen, the chat scrolls. Call 911. Stay calm. Timestamp saved. I've already dialed. The line open in my pocket. Dispatcher listening to the same tape as the neighborhood. You're ruining our lives, Jessica whispers. I shake my head. You wrote this script. I'm just reading it out loud. I cue the second clip. Their Miami planning session. The part about planting evidence to make me look unhinged. The words pour through the speakers into the storm. Frame, unstable, document. Outside, sirens begin as a suggestion. Inside, Amanda starts to cry. Richard tries one last bluff. Turn it off and we'll talk. I nod toward the camera. We are talking. The sirens grow teeth. I don't raise my voice. I don't have to. Sirens round the corner like a promise finally kept. I hold the lens steady and lower my voice to the register men use when it's time to end a fight without throwing a punch. Jessica, I say, tell the truth, and we stop guessing. She looks at me, at the camera, at the door that won't save her. Older couples know this moment, the one where a story either heals or hardens. Her shoulders drop. Fine, she says, breath shaking. We made it a game. We bet when you'd notice. We planned to paint you as jealous. The words land heavier than any evidence I've stacked. Richard curses. Amanda won't look up. Downstairs, a knock becomes a bang, and the living room fills with blue windbreakers and clear commands. Hands on the table. Step back. It's not a movie. It's paperwork with voices. I give the officers room and keep the record rolling. Jessica meets my eyes once more. I don't gloat. Men my age know victory is quiet. Careers will crumble tomorrow. Tonight, the truth finally clocks out. Rain quits like a tired drummer, leaving the porch smelling clean. I sit with a whiskey, the kind you pour when the math finally balances. Out there, blue lights fading, neighbors drifting back inside, a city that will forget my name by morning. In here, quiet. My father used to say, totals, not excuses. Tonight the totals are simple. What I built, what they broke, what I refused to carry one more inch. I'm not the betrayed man anymore. I'm the man who kept his ledger and his spine. Forgiveness, justice. Older men know those aren't colors, they're settings. You pick one and live with its light. I chose daylight. You choose yours. If this hit a nerve, tell me in the comments. 1. Forgive and move on. Or 2. Finish the fight and protect your name. Tap your number, add your city, and follow, because Mondays come with emails, lawyers, and consequences, and some storms don't end. They just change rooms.